inflammation can be life-saving, and when it comes to infection, if we didn't have an immune response that had the redness, the heat, the swelling, the pain, the loss of function, then we actually wouldn't be able to fight it off. So that's the good news, is that it's actually a beneficial thing in short bursts, but we're supposed to resolve inflammation within 7 days, 10 days max. And most people are struggling with the underpinning continuing.
Today's guest, I'm joined by Julie Daniluk, registered holistic nutritionist and wellness advocate. Her journey with wellness started when she had a very violent food poisoning incident in Asia. As a result of antibiotics to clear the infection, it just ravaged and wrecked the lining of her gut. Fast forward to today, Julie is teaching and educating people how to take steps to heal your gut through your meals, and as a result, bring down the inflammation. Inflammation is the silent culprit to many health concerns you may be facing. Take a moment, have a listen to my conversation with Julie. Welcome, Julie Daniluk. She is a registered holistic nutritionist and a highly sought after anti-inflammatory expert and speaker. She is an award-winning author of 4 best-selling books, including the #1 national bestseller, Slimming Meals That Heal, Hot Detox, and Becoming Sugar-Free. Her groundbreaking book, Meals That Heal Inflammation, is in its 2nd edition that was released on December 31st, 2024. Happy New Year. It has become a #1 bestseller and topping the Globe and Mail bestsellers list. Julie is so inspiring. She is a graduate of the Canadian School of Natural Nutrition and the Institute for Psychology of Eating. That's not all. She wanted to learn more. She studied culinary arts at George Brown College, herbalism at Emerson Herbal College, and life coaching with Tony Robbins. Julie's passion is to speak in venues across North America, where she blends her skills and experience in fun and positive ways to provide breakthrough health results with her audience. But that's not all. Julie has appeared on hundreds of TV programs, including Dr. Oz Show, Evolve with John Edwards, CTV News, Global TV, The Social, Canada AM, and CBC Radio. You may know her best as the resident nutrition expert for 13 years on the #1 Canadian daytime TV show, The Marilyn Dennis Show. Welcome, Julie.
Well, Vicky, thank you for having me. It's so wonderful
Yes.
with you.
Oh, I'm honored. I truly am honored, Julie. But I was reading all this, and there's one that was not mentioned. You won from the Canadian Health Food Association, CHFA, Organic Achievement Award in 2012.
Yes, I did.
Now, I was thinking about this. I think you are on for a Lifetime Achievement Award in the wellness holistic space. Yeah, I'm going to nominate you for that one. You've done a
Wow.
lot in your career, Julie, and I'm so
Thank you.
honored to have you on this podcast today.
Thank you.
So, we want to talk about inflammation
Yes.
and get to the root of all of that, because a lot of people don't know what inflammation is. They think, oh, arthritis, or you hurt yourself and then inflamed and red and swollen. But we have inflammation all over our body. And talk a little bit about that.
Sure. So we actually use inflammation. Our body has this inflammation response as an emergency. When there's an emergency, when something's happened, whether you've been injured or you have an infection or you have an irritation from food allergies or toxins that come into you, or maybe you have a hormonal imbalance that is caused by severe nutritional deficiency or excess, that'll cause you to have this inflammatory response. I just want you to think that inflammation can be life-saving, and when it comes to infection, if we didn't have an immune response that had the redness, the heat, the swelling, the pain, the loss of function, then we actually wouldn't be able to fight it off. So that's the good news, is that it's actually a beneficial thing in short bursts, but we're supposed to resolve inflammation within 7 days, 10 days max. And most people are struggling with the underpinning continuing. So you don't quite get rid of that infection. Like when we have a stealth infection, say H. pylori or Lyme disease, or another one that's really harsh is Candida, then you have an infection flying under the radar. So you stay inflamed and you never, ever get well until we address that infection naturally using wonderful anti-inflammatory foods and herbs and things that really work. And sometimes, in the case of Lyme disease, you might need antibiotics, but then we want to follow it up strongly with all the natural remedies in order to rebuild and repair the system. So that's what I'm really here to do is like, okay, figure out what is your root cause, then use nutrition and herbs as best you can to actually solve that inflammation so that we don't have to continue to have it. So we get rid of that chronic inflammation that's in the background of almost every major disease.
Okay, so let's say I'm getting women constant urinary tract infections. So, underlining, we could say inflammation, candida, we can say a lot of things, but it's just this vicious cycle and they can't seem to get rid of it. And it's being a little more stricter on their diet, like sugar. And I'll say, well, what's your sugar intake? And the comment will be, well, I don't eat sugar, but sugar is kind of in a lot of things we don't realize we're eating. But what would you say to that? Because it's just an ongoing cycle, and then they go on antibiotics, and it just creates that cycle again. But that the root cause is inflammation.
Yeah, well, the inflammation being caused by that infection, we got to get underneath that to prevent the infection from coming back and coming back. So I totally hear you that nutrition plays the largest role. And I always ask for a food journal when people say they don't eat sugar because they may not be eating spoonfuls of sugar. Almost no one does. What they're eating is having flour, white flour turn into sugar, or the corn chips turning into sugar, or certainly the sweet drinks. So many people don't realize that 20% of their calories are coming in from sugary beverages. And that is going to particularly exacerbate bladder infections, UTIs. So with UTIs, there's so many great things we can do. We know that the polyphenols from blueberries and cranberries play an excellent role in preventing the adhesion of the bacteria to the actual walls of the bladder. So that can be extremely helpful. And then I'm sure you know that D-mannose, which is a very helpful natural supplement that they can buy in your store, is one of the greatest tools to prevent that infection from continuing to plant in. And then post antibiotics, we better take lots of probiotics, and probiotics are preventative. So we now there's certain strains that are helpful to prevent UTIs, which is really exciting.
Yeah, yeah. But also you mentioned hormone imbalances. So I think like estrogen drops as well, because these are
Yep.
mostly postmenopausal women that
Yes.
have this reoccurrence of
Yes.
bladder infections. Yeah, yeah.
So
So their
women,
estrogen is dropped. Yeah.
yes, and that estrogen dropping has a whole host of issues,
Mm-hmm.
especially the fact that for some reason insulin likes to go up when estrogen is low. So we end up with a metabolic imbalance that can set us up for greater levels of infection. So we're going to have to be
Mm-hmm.
more diligent to
Mm-hmm.
avoid those refined carbohydrates.
Yeah. So refined carbohydrates and a lot of things are processed now. And when you're on a tight
Mhm.
budget, and trying to navigate the grocery store, yeah, fruits and vegetables are easy. It's just spending time preparing them.
Yeah, and I just want to speak to the most expensive foods on the planet are junk.
Okay. Or
Like
what?
five, junk food is the most
Oh,
expensive food on the planet. Like
yes.
look at potato chips.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
new fancy potato chips can be $27 a kilogram.
Right.
You can
Right.
buy, steak for that. You can
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
you can buy so much food for that.
Yeah.
But people never count potato chips by the gram. They don't realize that gram
Mm,
per gram, it is the most expensive food. So
yeah.
instead of us looking at food by the bag or by just the price tag, we should really start to look at, okay, how many nutrients am I getting for this price? Where you're
Yeah.
getting absolutely nothing. You're getting a deficit. when
Yeah.
you have
Yeah.
food.
Yeah.
And
And I'm all about maximizing your meals,
mhm,
and then you feel satisfied and then you're not craving the potato chips or
mm,
whatever your
you might be craving
sugary.
salt,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because a
Yeah.
lot of people are having adrenal stress, and we
Yep.
know that our adrenals are supported by sodium.
Hmm.
So if we give ourselves a little extra unrefined pink salt that they can buy in your
Yes.
store,
Yeah.
sprinkle that on their food, they will be more satisfied. Where people try to go low start, like low salt on their meals, and then they're
Yes.
splashing out with like
Yeah. Yeah.
delicious
Yeah.
fancy snacks later in the day.
Well, I heard you talking about olives. Like if you're craving salt, eat olives. I love olives. I love olive oil. And there's a shop in Collingwood where they press the olive oil, and I always go there. Whenever I'm in Collingwood, I buy their oil and I get the most pungent ones.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
I love
yeah,
that.
yeah,
Yeah, the
yeah.
polyphenols in olive oil are being
Hmm.
studied for their potential to reduce cancer risk.
Mm,
Women who consume a lot of high polyphenol olive oil have a lower risk of getting breast cancer. So
nice.
definitely
Yeah,
double down on
yeah.
that.
Well, and also anti-inflammatory properties.
Of course, very
Yeah,
good for
yeah,
heart, good for
yeah,
joints,
yeah.
wonderful thing.
Well, we segued into oils, but also like these seed oils are very inflammatory. And again, I will mention to people, are you doing any seed oils? And they'll say, no, no, no. But you're buying hummus. And what's the oil in there? Canola oil.
Mhm. So we got to look at there's now a list of the really bad ones, but
Hmm.
refined canola, soya oil, corn oil, cottonseed oil,
Yeah,
and
Catherine
those are the big ones.
Shanahan talks about the hateful eight.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, there's so many. I
yeah,
mean, we can pick on rice bran oil, grapeseed oil.
yeah,
There's
yeah.
a lot of the seed oils. Now, just to clear up some confusion, because coconut might be conceived as a an actual seed oil, but it's not. It's actually the fruit. So it's
Right,
fruit oil, and that's why olives and coconut are the fruit of the plant, and
right.
therefore they are absolutely fantastic. And the fruit oils,
Mm,
anything that you could squeeze oil out of
right.
naturally,
Yeah, yeah,
typically excellent because it's unrefined and has been eaten by humans for thousands of years,
exactly.
where seeds that are impossible to press without
Right.
commercialization, without a solvent, is
Okay.
really where we have a problem. And we just want to look to those healthy fats are typically more saturated. So they're an omega-9 or they're a saturate, where these seed oils are often always very high in omega-6. And not to demonize omega-6, but our ratio is totally off. So for
Hmm.
thousands of years, we were 1 to 1 omega-3 to
Yeah,
omega-6.
yeah,
And then at the turn of the century, it went to 1 to 4. So we had 4 parts omega-6 to
yeah.
1 part omega-3. And today it's 20 to 25 times the omega-6 to 1 part omega-3. And
Well,
that's why,
the industrial age.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
and that's
And the
when the
industrial.
refined, and that's when the food processing, and yeah, to make life easier for us, but we're sicker.
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
or more inflamed. So, okay, let's bring it back to inflammation. Well, here's another thing. Exercise can be inflammatory. Women are just like, running on the treadmill. Yoga would be okay, but really trying to get their heart rate up and doing all this cardio, but that can be inflammatory as well.
Well, let's speak to the three types of pain, and then that'll really help. We have we have three kind of ways that we can really get into pain and have inflammation. Number one is chemical pain caused by a lot of nutritional deficiencies and excesses. And then we've got our mechanical pain that's caused by injuries. And that's why we have to be so mindful when we are exercising. Are we warming up, cooling down? Are we actually treating an injury so that it doesn't have compound interest? Because if we just leave the injury to its own devices, it typically compounds over time and we end up with terrible injuries that just don't go away. And then we are nursing them 20 years later. So we really want to work on that rehabilitation. And then the last one is emotional pain. And I cannot believe how much new research we understand about the connection between the immune system and our nervous system, and how when we're in emotional pain, when we've been traumatized by an event, how it physically causes us pain, and how we really have to love ourselves up get into some good therapy, and definitely give ourselves self-care to help us with that piece. But the piece that we have the most control over immediately is what we eat, because it changes chemical pain. And I love that we can solve the nutritional deficiencies. We can get rid of the nutritional excesses, and we can really build a life that will reduce that chemical pain and also help us, because once the chemical pain is down, we actually have a better mood, and we'll often have the better tools to fix the mechanical pain as well. So it's kind of a really nice thing to start with.
Yeah, but you know, when you say emotional pain, and again, my demographics are women,
Yeah.
and so your menstrual cycle, you have a little dip there and you're craving everything in the house. And so, and then the emotional pain, you want that comfort food, and it's not always broccoli, you know?
Yeah.
So, but it's giving yourself grace too as you're trying to transition and trying to heal your body and recognizing those flags, I guess, red flags of
That's why, Vicky, I've tried to create a substitution for every single craved food I can think of.
good.
If you need crispy, I'm not going to say
Yeah.
celery. That's not crispy.
Yeah.
If you need
Yeah.
something
It's crispy
salty,
and salt. Yeah.
yeah.
Together.
So
Yes.
having like flax crackers that
Yep.
taste like I have a
And
pita
easy
cracker.
to
So good.
make. Very easy
No,
to make.
so
And you can use
so cheap.
water, no oil.
Yeah. Yeah,
Hmm.
exactly. So
Yep.
good. And
Yep.
then if we can have like bread that tastes like bread, that
Yep. Yep.
toasts up like bread, but
Yep.
doesn't have the gluten or the
Yep.
junk oils or sugars or anything
Yep.
in it that a lot of
Yep.
people are finding inflaming. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I want to go to your book here,
Thank
Meals
you.
That Heal Inflammation. And it's not just a recipe book, like everything we're talking about for inflammation, it's all in here, emotional, the mechanics, what you were saying, it's all there. I love how it's laid out. I love the coloring and how it's all coded, the research behind it. It's so well put together.
Thank you.
Julie. It's so well put together, easy to read. And if you're, there we go. If you're interested and yeah, like
Put it on your
you're
shelf.
doing a, yeah, you're doing a tour right now
Yes.
all across Canada promoting your book. So where are you going? This is going to be airing after Thanksgiving. So where will
Oh,
you be
amazing.
next? Where will
I
you be
can't wait
next?
to get to
Oh,
Guelph, to Barrie, to Waterdown. So
wow.
really close to
Really
your
close. But I
area.
mean, this is airing all over Canada.
Yeah,
So
wonderful.
so go
Going
to
to
your website.
Ottawa.
What
Yes.
did you say?
I'm also going to Ottawa.
Ottawa, beautiful.
Yeah.
Yes. I love Ottawa. So
Yeah.
yeah, so look up Julie Daniluk on her website and then go visit her, pick up her book and yeah, learn all about what you can. And underlining is inflammation.
Yes.
Underlining
Health.
conditions. It doesn't have to be Lyme disease or,
Mm,
women are struggling losing weight, hormonal imbalances.
mm,
So
mm.
a lot of it is inflammation.
There
Now,
is.
I want to talk about two more things.
Sure.
One, we had a time to chat prior to this podcast, and something that you like to do is called free diving.
Yes.
And I've never heard that before. Can you tell me a little bit about what you're doing there?
Oh, that's so wonderful. Yeah. Well, if you think of a mermaid and what they do, what we're doing is I mean, mermaids don't need to, but you take a very large breath of air at the surface, and then you're either wearing a monofin or two fins, and you're swimming down, and then you get to go look around, take a look at the fishes and the turtles, and da 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 da, and then you're coming back up to the surface. And this whole round trip, you have to train and train and train to have the lung capacity and the VO2 capacity to handle being down there for longer and longer periods of time. And it allows you eventually, like I can swim down about 60 feet before looking around. So it's a tremendous amount of pressure on your lungs. And it trains you to be a really great athlete, because to do that at depth, you do require a lot of energy. So it's very similar to training in the mountains. So a person who can rock climb Mount Everest would make an excellent free diver because you have to have actually the capacity to hold extra oxygen. So you end up building extra red blood cells and you have a great immune system. There's a lot of health benefits to free diving.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when I heard you say that, I thought of Tom Cruise. Do you know the
Oh,
story?
yeah.
I wanted
Yes.
to look it
One of
up.
the longest. Yep.
Yes, yeah, for practicing for some of his Mission Impossible. So you're Mrs. Mission Impossible. So,
Thank you.
yeah. So
Mission health possible.
yes, exactly. And so you've challenged me. So I am going to start doing some free diving next opportunity I get. And I'm just going to practice because when we were talking before, I used to do triathlons, and that was where I had trouble was the swimming because I didn't have enough oxygen, the VO2 max to, and I'm, by the end of it, so yeah, yeah,
Wow,
excellent.
that's
And just
exciting.
lung capacity, right? Your lung capacity because circulation of blood flow throughout your body, for
Mhm.
sure. Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
So I would highly recommend doing a free diving course just because some people will hyperventilate and then go down, and then on the way up, their blood pressure can change. So if you're a newbie, there could be a risk of a shallow water blackout. So it's a really good idea to have a course. I just want to say that out loud, just so that people at home don't like try to hold their breath for 2, 3 minutes at the bottom of the pool.
Yeah, 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 no kidding, eh? Yeah, and that has happened to me where I blacked out swimming. Yeah, yeah, whoa, that was scary. So, yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah. The other thing I wanted to ask you just about inflammation, and I kind of lost my train of thought on that one. So, but you're talking about bringing inflammation down, but people have to be really dedicated to it. And doing the free diving will also help for inflammation too, I would think.
Well, it does because you're carrying more oxygen and
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
building your lung capacity.
yeah,
It can be absolutely fantastic
yeah,
for your long-term health. I think it's great for longevity.
yeah. Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely. Challenging ourselves. As
Yeah.
we're aging, challenging ourselves to whatever
Mhm.
your interests are, challenge yourself, whether it's playing an instrument, learning a language,
Yes.
cooking, getting the grandkids cooking with you and sharing a meal, all that stuff, right? So
It's
one
excellent.
thing I was going to say for you, you should have like you have your flax recipe, you should have your own brand of food. What do you think of that?
Hmm. I would love
It's a
that.
lot of work.
It's trying to get the hubby on board to these
Oh.
projects, you know?
Yes, yeah,
It
yeah.
takes a team. It takes a team,
Yeah, yeah,
sure. But I certainly have a dream of having a sauce company. I've always wanted to start a restaurant. You'll never know the next thing I'll get up to.
yeah, yeah. Well,
Maybe
you've quite
retreats.
the list of things. So this was wonderful. And do you have any words of wisdom just to encourage people stay on the narrow road and don't be distracted by all this flashy stuff like the ultra processed foods, but keep your lifestyle simple. Keep your food simple.
Hmm. I think my greatest recommendations for people is to get to understand your blood sugar. And I have actually learned so much by wearing a continuous glucose monitor, which is lucky that in Canada you can actually do it out of pocket. You don't, in the States, you have to have a prescription. But here in Canada, you can just walk into a drugstore and say, I'd like a CGM, a continuous glucose monitor. And when you wear that, you can actually get to understand if you're insulin resistant. If your blood sugar shoots up after a food, it means your blood sugar, your actual cells aren't able to receive the sugar fast enough. And that's a really great indicator. If you're insulin resistant, you are inflamed. And we need to turn that around by getting rid of carbs. So I know a lot of people would be like, really? You want me to go low carb? It's not that I want you to go low carb. I just want you to go off all processed carbs. Because if your insulin keeps spiking, we're going to put fat on around the organs, which are the most dangerous. So if we put fat around our liver, our pancreas, our heart, that's where we age rapidly. And that's where we can run into severe health problems. So really use your waistline as a guide. And women should have a waistline below 35 inches, men before less than 40 inches. And if it's creeping over that, we know you're pretty much insulin resistant. And therefore, we need to eat to heal. And that's why I created Meals That Heal. And the new book has none of the insulin spiking carbs. Because in the past, I would maybe work with puffed quinoa, for example. Well, when you puff the cereal, the glycemic index goes screaming high. Where now I have redesigned all those treats to be lower on that glucose response so that you're going to feel great. You're going to have your treat and feel good tomorrow. That's what I really want people to do. So if you want to check out like free resources, an amazing substitution guide, which everyone needs, is at mealsthatheal.ca. So you can actually get my book right now is so exciting that you get all your different booksellers you can choose, but then just the free resources. Even if you don't buy the book, you can have the pyramid, which shows you like how many servings of the veggies and the fruit and the protein and the fats. And that really helps guide you right away. And it's a free resource.
Well, in our show notes, we will have links to all of that. And you're giving a gut healing remedy. So that's a guide for people as well. So that's going to be all in the show notes for people to hook up to that and get started on a regime. And I always tell people like between Thanksgiving, Canadian Thanksgiving, and Christmas, this is a great time to do any sort of detox, look after your liver, bring some of that inflammation down. Because usually, unless there's birthdays but usually there's not a lot happening, and it's a good time to do self-care, look after yourself as well, right?
I love it.
Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
CGM, what does that cost?
It's about $100.
That's
So it's
that's
cheaper at certain
inexpensive.
stores.
Yeah,
I mean, it's
yeah.
really worth it for 2 whole
Yes.
weeks. I want
Yep.
you to track everything. You eat a bowl of rice, I want to track it. If you're drinking a soda, you got to check it. And checking 20 times a day, you're going to see these peaks and valleys. We want to flatten it out. Like ideally, we want to eat to flatten that curve. Another new curve that we got to flatten is our blood sugar curve. And I think it's the broken record I'd like to leave people with is you need to now eat metabolically. You have to eat your high fiber, high protein, high good fats. So your omega 3s, your omega 9s are ideal. Those are what I want you to focus on. So omega 3s coming from fish, from flax, from walnuts, from leafy greens, from algae, from seaweed. Those are ideal. And then I'd love you to have lots of omega 9s, which is macadamia nuts, avocados, olives. Those are one of the best. So eat tons of olives, really bust your salt cravings. And then that is going to really satiate you so that you don't need the sugar. And if you eat enough protein, fat, and fiber, then we truly flatten that curve, keep our blood sugar balanced, and reduce painful inflammation head to toe. And I see it really quickly. So the other big thing is, are you allergic to something? We need to help break up with, are you allergic to gluten? Are you allergic to cheese? Are you allergic to, soy? Are you allergic to corn? We need to check that. So when we work in the process, you want to just phase things out for a little while. And that's why it's wonderful that you have a health food store, because you can help people find those direct substitutions. Then we'll try it on later and see if we have a spike of hand pain, knee pain, hip
That's
pain.
right.
And
That's
that's what
right.
is we see that pain disappear when we get
Yeah.
off our allergens.
Well, and people don't seem to want to take the time to listen to their body. Like, take some time, and it's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to happen in a day, 2 days, 3 days, like a week. I wish it would, but you need to give it 6 months to really heal, and you need to be on some sort of plan. And that's what's so great about your book or, your programs is it helps guide you step by step so that, if you're questioning something, should I eat this? Should I not? Am I allergic? Am I not? So yeah, and again, I'm getting people, tomatoes are big right now, a lot of Italians, and they're coming in with aches and pains, but they're eating a lot of tomatoes, but stop eating the tomatoes or overindulging in them, and you might see those aches and pains go away.
And you might be able to handle it cooked in tomato sauce with the seeds removed.
True,
That might
yes.
be better than raw.
Yeah,
So it's
yeah,
fascinating that even just helping the body cope with the food, like I can't handle any milk. but I can
Hmm.
handle lactose-free 2-year-old aged organic cheddar. So
Yeah.
it's so
Yeah.
cool that the
Yeah.
body can work with different things. It's all about just throwing open to exploration. And instead of saying, oh, I can't eat this and I can't eat that,
Right. Yeah.
oh, what new foods am I going to
Hmm.
discover that love me
Yes.
back?
Yes.
I'm
Yeah.
not going
Yeah.
to eat things that hurt me. I'm going to eat things that love me back and I have pleasure from.
Hmm. Hmm. I wanted to ask you though, speaking about blood sugar spikes, is monk fruit. And I know you only use liquid monk fruit. And why? Well, I think I know why, but why would you just do the liquid?
Sure. Because powdered monk fruit always has pretty much erythritol added to it. I've never found powdered monk fruit without erythritol. And just recently, so erythritol was sort of on my orange list. It wasn't like full red light, where I would say aspartame, sucralose, all those crummy sweeteners are. I was like, oh, like maybe there's okay occasional usage. And then a whole wave of information came out about the fact that it may not be good for the heart. It may not be good for the cardiovascular system. So now we're like, you know what? Alcohol sweeteners, just like alcohol, there's no safe dosage. Let's just let go of alcohol sweeteners, let go of alcohol, because we now know it's just hard on the liver, it's hard on the gut, hard on, now we know the hard on the heart. And we're going to really focus on just having this beautiful melon from Asia that's 400 times sweeter than sugar, so that you can have that sweet taste, but it's also antihistamine, so it reduces your allergic load, and it's truly delicious. So unlike stevia that has a licorice aftertaste, it
Yeah.
just tastes like
But
watermelon.
it doesn't spike your blood sugar, but you're
No,
using so like minimal amounts.
yeah, a few drops will be
Yeah.
highly sweet.
Yeah, but then when you're cooking like that what do you put in to make like sort of the consistency? If you're just doing a few drops of monk fruit and you're making, I don't know
Yeah,
what.
so I've definitely adapted a ton of recipes to be
Yeah.
monk fruit liquid
Yeah.
only, but sometimes I need a base for it. So
That's
sometimes
right.
if I'm going from a honey recipe to a
Yeah.
monk fruit recipe, I
Yes.
will actually use coconut milk to
Hmm.
carry the liquid. So
Oh.
say I use half a cup of honey, I would use half a cup of the coconut milk
Hmm.
with a teaspoon of the coconut of the monk fruit liquid. And that
Okay.
takes up the same volume because I have to
Okay.
actually make
Okay.
the volume the
Okay.
same.
Yeah. Yeah, and you have to experiment and
Yeah.
like taste buds as well, right? You have to
Yeah.
experiment what's right for you, your family, and like I know back in the day I'd make stuff and nobody likes it. And so my kids are older now, so they're not here anymore. But yeah, and it's just like, oh, you went through all this trouble making this stuff and then nobody's eating it. So and
Yeah.
trying
It's
and the snack
adaption.
thing is a hard one because everyone like having teenagers, right? They want something to eat all the time. So and my
Yeah.
husband was in construction and he'd be up like on a scaffolding and he would need something. He says, I can't jump down. Can't climb down, grab something, to keep my blood sugar or my energy. So he'd have stuff in his pockets to keep his energy going. And it had to be something quick and something you could open up and off you go
Yeah.
kind of thing. So yeah,
So it's
yeah,
great that you own a health food store.
yeah, 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 I know.
You
What
have
a
lots of
journey.
options. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, we're more supplements. I mean, I do have some food items, but it's
Mm.
mostly supplements. Yeah, because I'm beside a grocery store and a Dollarama,
Oh, wow.
people are going in there because it's cheap, right? And going back to choices, like, yeah, it is what it is. So,
So
I'm
there
not,
are there are some wonderful snack choices. Like when I think
yeah,
of it, like coconut chips versus chips,
right.
salty but made
Yep,
coconut
yep,
with
yep.
stable. And then seaweed snacks are
Oh,
incredible.
I love seaweed snacks.
Very
Yeah, yeah,
salty, right? And then the
yeah.
packet of olives. Now olives are sold in packets so that they're terrible amount for a snack size, right?
Mm,
That's how.
yeah, yeah,
And then macadamia nuts, like portioned out, like 10 at a time. Those are
yes,
delicious.
yeah,
And then moving into the cornucopia of date sweetened protein bars
yes.
are
Mm-hmm.
really popular. And I choose dates because they're actually the most glycemically balanced. Like they've noted
Okay.
with people with diabetes, that date doesn't spike their insulin or type 2 diabetes. It doesn't seem to cause the insulin rise or the sugar going up and then the insulin having to kick in
Yeah.
as badly.
Yeah.
It's got a lot of B vitamins, it's got a lot of fiber. It seems to
I was going
hold.
to say it's probably the fiber that doesn't spike the insulin. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we're seeing a lot of benefits there. And then I love pumpkin seeds
I
roasted
love, yeah.
with some
Yes.
coconut
Yeah.
sauce, which is like
Yeah.
a substitution for tamari. So
Yeah.
tamari roasted pumpkin seeds in this season is probably
Mm-hmm.
the best.
Mm-hmm. 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 I know
Great.
I was looking at your older book and I seen kale chips and I have kale in the fridge. I thought, you know what? I'm going to make some kale chips. I haven't had that. It was a trend for a while, but
Yeah.
so I thought, oh, maybe I'll do that with all this kale. But
Awesome.
yeah,
That's
because
great.
it's all coming out
And
of
it
the
goes
garden
really
now.
quick.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And I
Really
have
fun.
basil growing. So what I've been craving is I talked about tomatoes, but tomato and basil, olive oil, and that's kind of my breakfast right now.
That's
Yeah.
lovely. Pesto, of course,
Yeah,
picking up a ton.
yeah, yeah, and it's
I
more
buy
like a
bushel.
savory, but we always want sweet, right? But
Mm.
having a
Well,
savory,
if we really crave constant sweet, then it's
yeah,
time for us to really look at why am I needing that
yeah,
much
yeah.
sweet? Can you buffer it and move? Like I used to crave constantly. I used to eat like entire containers of ice cream in one sitting. And now I truly focus on if you fill up with the fiber, fat, the carbs, I promise you're going to break up with severe cravings. They just don't stick around.
Yeah. Well, and that's what I tell people, like when they're craving all this sweetness, it's like, well, your taste buds, sweet, sour, salty, bitter.
Mhm.
And, you do the sweet, you do the salty, maybe a bit of sour, but start doing more bitters. And I know like we have Canadian bitters,
I
like say
love Canadian.
Francis. Yeah. And so they will get that just to minimize the craving. So, because
Yeah.
you have to transition, right? And like I
Mm.
said, sometimes you're not going to get it done in day one, and especially when you're feeding a family, you're not going to get it done in day one, but give yourself grace to, bring that inflammation down. And like I said, this is a great time to do it. October, November, focus on you, focus on your health, and meals that heal,
Thank
basically.
you. Yeah,
Yeah.
I love it. And I really appreciate that bitters to explain the mechanism. It's going to actually change your taste buds so
Hmm.
that you crave, like if you have, there's artichoke in there that help you break up with cravings, which is really exciting. But then
Hmm.
it also stimulates your vagus nerve so that you have less stress. So you move out
Hmm.
of stress response into rest and digest.
Interesting.
In that place, you're actually more settled and more able to cope. So that's
Okay.
why I highly recommend that people consider lots of bitters, and
Yeah.
Canadian bitters with the maple syrup in it
Yeah.
is the
Yeah.
spray
Yeah.
because it's sort of like giving you a little bit of like, that spoonful of sugar makes the medicine go down. You're sort of able to cope with more because you've
Yeah,
got the maple
yeah, yeah.
present
And the
there.
maple is not, it's not overpowering at all,
No.
at all. But after this, now I'm craving it. So
I know. I know. It's so
yeah,
funny that we
yeah,
start to
yeah,
crave bitter. People,
yeah.
I don't like bitter. Come on, you like coffee, you like chocolate, you like
Yes,
bitter. You
yeah,
just want it
yeah.
sweetened. So let
Yes,
yourself have some maple Canadian bitters. It's such a
that's
good,
right. That's right.
excellent.
Awesome. Well, look for Julie's book,
Thank you.
Meals That
Okay.
Heal Inflammation. And she is going to be traveling around Guelph, Barrie, you said Ottawa. She'll be
Yeah.
traveling around in the next little bit. So go to Julie's website. All the information's in our show notes. And visit her. She's wonderful to listen to. And I'm always learning from you. I've seen you a few times, and yeah, I'm always learning. I always learn something new from you every time I
Thanks,
listen to
Nikki.
you. Even
That's
just the
awesome.
bitters and the vagus nerve. That was something I did not know.
Cool.
Yeah,
I love
yeah,
it. Well, let's
yeah.
stay in touch. I look forward to next time.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate you
Awesome.
doing this. Take care.
Great. Bye.
Bye. I have had the privilege of interviewing some incredible thought leaders in the wellness space. Julie has been helping individuals get back their energy and life with one meal at a time. I'd love it if you could show her your support. Check out her contact information in the show notes. The reason I started this channel is simply to help you make everyday choices today that will impact your health and well-being for life. What keeps you stuck? What message do you keep telling yourself that you can't? I truly hope you found value in today's episode. If you did, let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear from you.